Okay. I just wanted to talk about climate change's impact on the Tri-County area and how geothermal energy can help. And I wanted to just, like bring this up really quickly in our local area. There we go. In our local area, the effects of climate change, we kind of know the bigger effects of like, oh, like eventually climate change will doom the world and our civilization. But I wanted to see like specifically now what are some effects that are having on the populations in our area. So I did a bit of research, and so if we have a flash flood in the near future, I did a look at the Camden County, Gloucester County, and then Burlington County areas, and you can see all these purple dots are areas if there is a heavy impact on flood or anything like that. Water could really cause a huge amount of damage to the residents living there, and then all of that is put into this quick chart. So in these three different variables of populations of people below poverty, people that are unemployed, and people with no high school diploma, I have these populations that are easily affected by these flash floods. And here's the obviously the percentage of the total of the population per compared to each variable. And if there was a 100-year flood, meaning that every 100 years, like the worst possible flood could happen. This is the population out of this variable that would be hugely affected and possibly killed in that chance. And this is for Camden County. And we can see it gets a lot better for Gloucester County. But Burlington County, again, similar situation. This is obviously due to Camden County's areas of more, as we go back, you can see people below poverty and these different variables have a higher population. And so that causes the people being killed in those casualties being a lot higher. And so continuing on, I also wanted to talk about the different health-related sites that could happen in those types of flash floods. Because again, this is a really big impact on the people living there and also the amount of deaths that are, can be contained during those disasters. And so as you can see in hospitals, luckily most of the hospitals and nursing homes in Camden County seem to be pretty safe during those floods. But contamination sites, areas where there's huge amounts of either radioactive gunk or places like landfills and things like that have there's a good chunk of them that can be exposed in these floods, which would hugely like pollute the waterways in the area. And in a chance of a 500-year flood would increase even more. And this goes for both Gloucester County and also Burlington County. Um, Again, all of these sites are pretty important to the waterways near our areas, so the Delaware River and also the Atlantic Ocean. And seeing as a lot of climate projects that were just proposed are in those areas, I think this have a huge effect on that. So next, I also wanted to go over some of the popular resources of renewable energy. And so those would be electric vehicles. And then one I didn't see brought up today, which was geothermal energy. And I think it's something that's overlooked in our area, so I wanted to go over it a bit more. So for electric vehicles in our area, and as you can see in like June 2023, like which is at the very end here, there's a huge amount of electric vehicles in New Jersey, which has gone up significantly over the last decade. This number includes both the fully electric vehicles like Teslas, but as well as also like plug-in hybrid vehicles. So vehicles from Hyundai, like Honda, Nissan, those kinds of brands where they have both gas and electric together. And is also this is going to continue growing exponentially in the future. And so here you can see I have a heat map of electric vehicles in each county. And we're down here, and as I listed here, Camden has around 5,500, Burlington with a similar number, and Gloucester's around 2,000. And as we can see from the heat map, while electric vehicles are, decently popular in our counties, they're definitely nowhere near the density in the central and northern regions of New Jersey, which is something I think that we can advocate more for in our area to, again, lower the risks and dangers of climate change in the future. But I also do believe that with the new two Tesla sales offices that have just opened in our area, I think that especially well in my local region of Cherry Hill, I think that again electric vehicle sales in our area should increase and slowly pick up, especially with the development of hybrid cars and other companies and the efficiency of the amount of money that you get per mile in those cars. So this for geothermal energy, which is something that wasn't brought up today. I personally believe it's a very efficient and overlooked source of renewable energy, especially in our area, which many people believe isn't effective just because maybe there's not sort of like any geysers or seismic activity in the area. But geothermal energy just relies on heat from the earth. It doesn't require anything else. And so as it says here, geothermal energy is heat from the earth that heats a fluid to its heating capacity, which allows the heat to be easily extracted and used into and changed into electricity through a thermoelectric transfer. And so I wanted to give a statistic on just one pump of geothermal, which uses 9 times less land than fossil fuels, giving the same amount of energy. And one pump can produce around 3,500 kilowatts of energy, and that's equivalent to around 8,200 cars taken off the road. This is a bigger commercial pump, but as we get to a local example with smaller pumps, so my school actually has a building that's completely powered by geothermal energy. The water, the electricity, all the heating is done through these geothermal wells, and these are really small wells that are only around 300 to 400 feet deep, compared to the general commercial size around 2 kilometers deep. And so we got these installed at our school around 26 years ago, and giving off a baseline energy production of each of the wells. Our school has probably saved close to around 13 million kilowatts of electricity in the last 26 years. And this is sort of going against the fact that geothermal energy isn't really effective in sort of our soil just because we don't have that much seismic activity compared to other areas, which again, any local, like as a local example, like this works perfectly fine in any sort of building like that. And doing more research into this showed me that if you were to just install geothermal energy to power your own home, it would probably only cost you around $10,000 to $12,000 to power a normal sized family home. So yeah, it's pretty efficient compared to other renewable sources. And so again, it's renewable, so it's continuously replenished, and also is one of the bigger benefits is that it's 24/7 without any stoppage to weather. So solar panels have a disadvantage of being blocked by cloudy days or being less efficient on those days. Wind, if there's no wind and there's no energy, and it also has a very small footprint. So geothermal energy, again, as I said earlier, takes up 9 times less land compared to fossil fuels. But it also takes up 3 times less compared to wind, and 8 times less compared to solar stations. So in the same land that a solar panel might take up, geothermal could take that land and produce 8 times the amount of energy for the same amount of land. So it's super efficient, and again, it's super overlooked. Again, like all other renewable energy, it's incredibly clean. There are no greenhouse gas emissions, and it also has a life cycle emission, which is 4 times lower than solar stations and 6 to 20 times lower than natural gas plants, meaning it's actually more and much more incredibly renewable than any of these other options. And again, other renewable sources use a lot of water, but geothermal energy, because of the fact that its fluids are reusable, as well as using different fluids for better heating capacity and being able to extract more energy from the earth, and each time the fluid goes down, uses a lot less water, making again way more renewable compared to other options because of the fact that water is also a finite resource on the planet. So yeah, while I think that all efforts to combat climate change are needed, I would definitely advocate for geothermal energy pumps to be used and installed in collaboration with solar panels and EVs, as previously mentioned, and also the fact that these renewable energies being used would also greatly affect the amount, like the flash floods and also the different public health effects in the area, which would definitely be decreased over time with the rising sea levels going down if we had more clean energy and less reliance on fossil fuels. So yeah, thank you for your attention. And if there's any questions, you can ask them. And again, just a note on where my data is from.
Maxwell, thank you so much. We're definitely proud to feature you as a youth leader for environment tonight. And I have to say, as a geography professor, I'm extremely impressed with your data analysis and your visualizations and what you've been able to communicate. This is really awesome work. You should be absolutely proud of it, especially you brought up geothermal. That's cool. So thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Super, super awesome work.